Okay.
Good job.
So yeah. So who all is in the band, and what are their roles?
Let's see. We're the Shakeups. I'm Patrick, and I play guitar and sing and write a lot of the songs. I also play some bass, ukulele, and what else do I play? Oh, sometimes we have like sequenced parts and programmed parts that I play. So I do a little bit of everything.
We call Patrick the talent, but like not in a nice way.
Sarcastically.
But no, he is very talented. But like, you know, like he's gonna dock our pay, quote unquote, if we hit a bum note or make us, you know,
because we all make so much.
We're a punitive sweater vest or something. Just kidding.
Punitive sweater. That's a title for our band list.
I'm Savannah O'Connor. I'm in the band as well. I play keyboards. Occasionally I make mouth noises of various kinds. That, you know, more on the shouty, less on the singy, but sometimes the singy side. Percussion, I write some lyrics sometimes, and I do a lot of the stagecraft stuff.
All right, you want me to go through the other members?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So we've got Ed Cho on guitar, and a very talented guy. And he's, you know, I've known him for 20 years, and yet I just constantly find out new things about him, like, oh, I can play the violin. Oh, I can play this, I can play that. And so he's that guy, sort of our secret weapon.
Yes.
Very
then
versatile.
we have Luisana Rodriguez, who also sings.
Who's also an insanely talented and multi-instrumentalist who also can pick up any number of instruments and play them. She's done some songwriting recently.
Yeah.
And she also plays the bass guitar.
Yep.
So.
And then we have Lee Shirolis on bass, and we have Steve Hinckley on drums.
Awesome. When did you form the band?
That's a more complicated question than you think it is.
So long ago, I can't even remember. Well, you want pop culture stuff for this specifically, well, right?
But I still think it's funny to note that the band, the Shakeups, which is really just Patrick's band, you know, at any given time in his life. Really. Well, sort of. The Shakeups has existed and predates when we became a pop culture band. So technically.
Well, my origin story is, and this is just something I remember the other day, is when I was in first grade, I got in trouble for humming cartoon music in class. And so I've always been like into cartoons, and I've always been into music from cartoons, even back then, you know. And in like the 90s and early 2000s, when I was kind of getting into making music, you know, it was kind of uncool to do that. And I feel like there's been a paradigm shift from the, you know, the pop culture part of it. And so there was this compilation that came out in like the late 90s it was just called Saturday Morning Cartoons, I believe. And it was produced by a guy named Ralph Saul. And it was basically a who's who of all the bands from the time recording cartoon themes. And so like they had like Matthew Sweet doing Scooby-Doo and Liz Phair doing, I think it was H.R. Puffin stuff. And the Violent Femmes did a Jetsons song. And it was just, and I just played that compilation to death. And in the back of my mind, I think I was always,
Astroman was on it.
I think so. But in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, I would love to do something like this. And so that was kind of the seed of how it first came to me. But as far as the band goes, I was sort of sneaking in some pop culture references in other projects back when it was kind of not cool to do it. You know what I mean? And I formed a band with Steve Hinckley, where we couldn't find anybody else interested in being in the band with us. So it was just a rock duo, we called it. And I wrote a song. We wrote
Hipster Zero.
Hipster Zero, right. We were both toy collectors, and he has the biggest collection of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe stuff I've ever seen.
And his wife has all of the original My Little Ponies.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So right. So I wrote a song for him called He-Man Collecting Junkie that we started playing live. And when we played it, I would put on a He-Man mask and he would put on a Skeletor mask. And so that was like the first kind of pop culture, you know, song that I did with cosplay, quote unquote. And Steve would eventually become our drummer, but he wasn't, you know, originally.
But then Steve's wife was the switchover.
Yeah. So that was sort of the lead up. And then I actually formed the Shakeups with Ed Cho in 2005. And at the time, it was really because I was doing a lot more kind of instrumental music and like hard edge stuff. And I really wanted to be a pop songwriter and write poppier, catchy stuff with harmonies and all that. And I thought, well, I better start a band for that because none of these other guys are interested in doing that. So I put out an ad and I met Ed Cho. And that's how it started.
Okay.
And then from there, we picked the name. And there was a lot of, in the early 2000s, there was a lot of sort of like poppy, psychedelic sort of bands, you know, like the Apples in Stereo and the Elephant Six Collective stuff, and the, who else? Help me out. The Shins.
Oh, yeah,
but there was just like this whole crop
the
of bands.
Shingles was one of the potential
Ed
names.
suggested the Shingles as a name, and I was like, that's a little icky. Let's not use that one.
Yeah.
And it also sounded too much like the Shins. So
Yeah.
fortunately for me, or it might be the Shingles right now. But we had the Lemon Shakeups on the list. And for anybody not in the Midwest, you know, the beverage you can get at the fair with, you know,
really
lemons.
Sweet lemonade.
Yeah, exactly. Ice and lemons and sugar. And we kind of likened that to our music because the music was real bouncy and poppy, but the lyrics were usually kind of dark and cutting, which is perfect for like the lemon. So, but we thought the name was too long, so we just made it the Shakeups, and we just called the first album A Twist of Lemon instead. So that's how it started.
What year was
That was 2005, and then the album came out in 2006.
And then when was the year of the Pony Fair?
Okay, so we did a lot of moving around back and forth. Different people came and went from the band. And then around 2000, let's see, it was 2010, Steve joined because we needed a drummer. I'd gotten back in town and we didn't have a drummer at that point, and so he joined. So then it was kind of a core with us, the three of us.
I can tell the next part.
If you want, yeah. And then around 2012, I got the idea of doing some cartoon-inspired music.
And it's a funny story. So, as I mentioned, Steve Hinckley, the drummer, and his wife Mary are both toy collectors, as you see behind me. That's a thing that happens in our house too. So they're both big toy collectors, and Mary is part of a My Little Pony vintage toy collecting group, which had a fair that they did every year. And then around then they had done this event for ages in a day. And then when Friendship is Magic came out, then all of a sudden there was a lot of interest in My Little Pony, and people started bringing their children and showing up to these events that they had. They had that just huge explosion of people and a need to create children's activities that they hadn't had before. So she asked me, I worked with kids and helped her, you know, to sort of think about stuff we could do to entertain the children. And well, basically we took, we wanted to do live music. Learning the songs was not really feasible because
we had to come up with something really quickly.
It needed to be quick. And then also, I mean, that Broadway style singing isn't a thing. I mean, they're mostly female vocals in Broadway style songs in those shows. So, I mean, it's like Disney songs. Not everybody can sing those. So doing those was really problematic. So instead, we took Patrick's actual songs that were his original songs,
right? Like,
changed the lyrics.
Right, like the last album we had done, I just changed all the lyrics and we just did them that way.
and just it was supposed to be a one-time event. Patrick, who did like the show very, very much, like he was legit a brony. He changed all of the lyrics really quickly, and then we recorded some of them just for fun. And I painted a cover for the thing, really slapdash, and then that got booked. That project got booked to do more cartoon music for family events. And then that just took a whole tangent where the bass player then was like, this isn't for me. And, you know,
right. So we started getting all these offers to play at conventions, which we'd never planned on doing. And at that point, our bass player kind of vanished into thin air, and our female vocalist from the time moved right then. She was into the idea, but she had life changes and moved away. And so suddenly we didn't really have a band that could play, and we had all these offers coming. And so I asked Savannah to do it because she had played some instruments on one of the albums and did the cover art. She's
I
always like halfway into it already.
Took
So.
piano when I was a kid. I don't know. So then I ended up in the band, and but the gal Bitsy that had been it before, like that's a voice that I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. So I recruited my friend Luisana, whom I was baking with one day, and realized she hadn't, just randomly started singing, and just like you and Ed finding out he plays random instruments. It was me going like, "You sing? Wow, you sing great."
Yeah,
Enjoying
so
it.
around so we started, by getting these random convention bookings, and then from that we went to, wouldn't it be fun to play some of those old cartoon theme songs, and have those in the set as well. So it was kind of a mixture of those things. And so around
and then all of us like cartoons. So that
Right.
at this point you've got a whole bunch of like nerdy pop culture. I was on the staff of a Star Trek convention. Everybody's like into some pop culture thing that they nerd out on.
Right.
Lee and Ed make a comic book together that's actually for kids called Little Guardians. It's really great. So they go to comic book conventions all the time and are super into that. Everybody draws or is creative in some way, and you find often that people that like to draw like animation because it's art. So so we all like cartoons, and so it going from just being this one-off thing to everybody being like, "This is my favorite cartoon," and Lee being like, "Oh, you guys have to watch Steven Universe. Oh, we got to do this. We got to watch that, and let's all watch, have watch parties and watch Voltron cartoon, Legendary Defender together.
Right.
With green food goo and like."
Right. Well, but once we did like a couple cartoon themes, then somebody's like, "Well, we did your cartoon theme. Now we have to do mine."
Oh yeah, everybody wants their favorite cartoon theme. Is everybody's like vying, like, "Oh no, we got to do DuckTales next. Oh no, we got to do Rescue Rangers. No, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do Gummy Bears still."
Yeah.
But
we've got several we got to get to still.
Yeah, it's this constant thing of like which ones to do next, and which cartoon or which thing to write an original song about. And
Right.
yeah, and lots of sitting around watching cartoons and hanging out and drinking tea. That was probably
Sorry.
several
We
questions.
probably went through about half a dozen of your questions. Just
So there you go.
Right. Trying to think of kind of where to go next here.
I'm so sorry. I drank sugar, and when I got home, I was like, "Oh no, I'm tired. I'll just have this hot chocolate, and that'll make me awake enough for this interview." And now I'm like this. I'm sorry.
No apologies needed.
You probably want to know like favorite pop culture franchises. Is that?
Yeah, we can go there.
that looks like it would be probably the next thing. You want to go ahead?
Oh golly. Oh, I mean, pop culture franchise. I guess it counts.
It's hard to pick. It's hard to narrow it down.
I'm a huge, like maladaptively huge Tolkien fan. Like I have all the books, all of the histories, all of the things Christopher Tolkien has written about the writing of all the books. And I'm really excited about that stuff and any media connected with it. With the books, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. That's how I met Patrick. Giant Star Trek fan. I was a fan of his Star Trek band by Remission. And that's how I met him. And
Nice.
those are probably my big two that I'm, as far as looking at my collections and my books and my toys, those are probably my most ones. But I mean,
yeah.
I don't not like Star Wars. I don't not like,
I was going to say my first fandom was Star Wars when I was a little kid. So yeah, I have a soft spot for it, even though, sometimes it's hit and miss, but I still love it. But from that, I moved on to like, I would always see these sort of Americanized animes back in the day. And I'm talking like early 80s, maybe even late 70s a little bit. And, even then when I was a little kid, I could tell that they weren't the same as all these other cartoons that were on, you know what I mean? And so it took me a long time to find out, because they always used to try to hide that they were foreign cartoons, and so it took me a long time to figure out what it was that I was watching that I really liked about it. And so eventually when I got to see, Star Blazers and Voltron and Robotech and stuff like that, then I finally realized, oh, it's anime that I like, and so now I run a convention for it called VoltCon, which
Right.
Our fourth year. fifth year is going to be next October. So we just found out today, in fact, that we're going to be able to do another one. So
Nice.
Yay.
How did the
I'm
last one
on
go?
staff for that too. So is Luisana. So that's fun times. I totally relate to that thing where like your pop culture can be a gateway to something
right.
something else.
You said that about Star Trek.
Yeah, like I found out it was a gateway drug to like mid-century science fiction and science fiction literature that I ended up really loving, that
right,
you know, I wouldn't have been exposed to if I hadn't sort of gone down the rabbit hole of Star Trek scripts.
Right. And for me, it was like the Americanized things that were put together by people that were basically hacks, you know, that were taking these original Japanese shows and sort of butchering them. So it was nice to go back and see the original thing and realize this is what I actually loved about this thing that I saw when I was a little kid, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, Voltron was an early favorite of mine, although I didn't get to see Robotech until maybe like the early 90s.
Oh, really?
Like,
yeah. When it was
long
on
after
Cartoon Network?
No, actually, I had a friend that was a really big fan of Robotech, and they let me borrow the tapes, like the Macross saga.
You know, even before Hipster Zero, I was in a band called Destination Earth, and that was really the first pop culture thing I kind of did, because I would take samples from those shows and play them in our songs, and they're on the
neat.
albums. And the thing is, like at the time, it was just my VHS collection, you know, that I was taking these samples from, because most of those shows weren't available commercially, especially some of the like, you know, like things that were dubbed in like the Philippines and then brought over here, you know, as like a bootleg or something.
Right.
So and it was great for using them as voice samples, because the actors would always be real over the top, you know, and they'd be saying things that sounded really interesting. And so that was actually probably before Hipster Zero, that was the first thing that I was kind of doing, was using some of those samples of those voices.
It's funny though, because I mean, that stuff, some of it's not in print, but if it was,
right.
I wonder if anybody would catch the
right.
samples.
But the problem now is that so many of those shows at the time, they were all out of print, but now so many of them are on Blu-ray and DVD and just streaming. I mean, Robotech you can watch anywhere now. And like at the time, you just couldn't get it. I mean, unless you wanted to buy a 2-episode VHS tape from 1987.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I went to ASEN when I was really young, and I just remember just the Valhalla of bootlegged VHS and DVDs of things that you couldn't get.
It's amazing to think, like I used to buy VHS tapes with 2 episodes of a show on them. I mean,
for $20,
$20 or $30. Yeah, it's like.
And then prize them and put them on shelves.
Imagine how much it would cost to get 1 season of a show.
I remember when I was like grabbing like the copies of I think it was it Palladium that was putting out like the Robotech new creation tapes
game and all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just because you saw if you saw your thing on a product, any product, you were just like, oh my god, I don't care that I don't drink. I'm gonna buy this shot glass because it has the thing that I love on it.
I remember buying, actually, when it came out, the Palladium version of the Sentinels on VHS, because it wasn't available anywhere for like 3 years or something. And I was like, I finally get to see what happens, you know? And then it's, you know, like an hour and 15 minutes long, and then it's over.
I know, it's so disappointing.
But you know, the stories still exist. They're just not in animated form. So
did you ever see the pictures of our Max and Miria cosplay that we did?
I think so. When was that?
It was last summer.
I guess it was last summer.
I remember it.
A couple friends of ours dressed as Lisa Hayes and Ben Dixon. And so I actually dressed as Rick and Max for different pictures.
You guys do really good cosplay.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
You guys do really good cosplay.
Oh, thanks. Aww. You know, the challenge is, you know, because we're going to be playing music in this thing, is to find something that you can wear but also perform in.
Right.
That's the hardest thing, because we'll come up with these great ideas. I mean, we would have loved to have dressed like all the Crystal Gems from Steven Universe, but it would have been impossible to play in that stuff. You know.
Have you the Cybertronic spree?
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they play.
They just do it anyway. I'm impressed with them. I don't know how often they have to rebuild those suits. I'm a big fan. I almost went to go see them one time, except they're Canadian, right?
Yeah.
And what was it? They were right on the other side of the river, and
They
it
were
was
just-
right after they made the rule that you had to have an actual passport to
Oh,
go
right, yeah.
over the river. And I was like, no.
They actually played in the area, like it was the same weekend as VoltCon a few weeks ago. Like they were playing in like Ohio
Well, we would have gone to
and
see-
Chicago, you know, right when VoltCon was going on. I was
Where
like,
we
oh, I
would've
really wish
gone.
that we had brought them to the convention.
Oh, that too. But yeah, no, they're amazing. Yeah.
Going to see
So-
them, I think back in 2020, but I think then COVID hit and they had to
Right,
cancel.
they had to reschedule, yeah. Which
Bummer.
they would have been safe with all their, you know, all their
Right.
face stuff on and all
I
that.
Not the audience.
Not the audience, but
No, they're fantastic. Big fan.
definitely.
But yeah, that's kind of something we do. But yeah, I'm impressed with them. I mean, I tried to at VoltCon, I lost my wig partway through. I like went like that or something, and it flew.
Oh, at the end of the show,
It
yeah.
just flew, like second to last song or something, and then
Right.
it was just gone. And an earring went somewhere, and the wig went somewhere, and I just kept going.
Oh no.
Yeah, and you know, we're into cosplay a little more than some of the other band members, and like the drummer, especially since he's all physical in what he's doing, it's harder for him to play with the
But
stuff
he's
on,
more
so.
amenable.
He
like,
is, he is.
doesn't care. It's the bass.
So we have to find a balance.
Yeah, our bass player is very, very much a very fashionable man, and he rather insists on making like plainclothes cosplays. Like he's like, I'm going to wear the costume, but I'm not going to wear the costume. I'm going to wear like a plainclothes like representation of the costume that's still like trendy looking. So,
But as long as he's in the picture with us,
but
you
it
can
kinda-
tell what
you
he's
can
supposed to
tell,
be.
you can tell what it's supposed to be. So.
What are some of the favorite songs that you guys have written for your favorite franchises?
oh my gosh.
I mean, I haven't written that many songs, so I mean,
Well, but the band
yeah,
wrote. I mean,
you wrote all the songs. So.
well, yeah, okay. Well, let's see. So I guess I would say I think one of your questions was about our favorite project. This kind of leads into that. So I'll just
Okay.
say that probably my favorite project we've done is Legendary Defenders, because it was based on Voltron, which, you know, I loved My Little Pony and I loved Steven Universe, but Voltron I grew up with, you know what I mean? So I had no shortage of, you know, inspiration.
He wrote that whole album in like
It was really
a
fast.
month or something
Oh, wow.
ridiculous.
We have this joke that we always say we're going to do an EP about this,
And
you
then
know,
Patrick writes 10
project.
songs.
And
Like
so we have
when he's
5
supposed to write
songs,
3.
but by the time people have learned 5 songs, we have 25 or 15
Yeah.
songs. So
That's sort of the joke, is that you try to learn the songs for the EP, but by the time you're done learning the songs for the EP, there's a whole album. You have to learn the rest of them.
Yeah.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, so I think song wise, I mean, like for the My Little Pony stuff, I think All Aboard the Friendship was a
I like
was
that
a fun
one.
one to do.
That was
All these layered vocals and everything. I just remember it was such a pain to record, but it worked out, it paid off. So
good.
I like that one a lot.
It was too complicated to play live sometimes.
Yeah, there's so many parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. For Steven Universe, I like Clods, which had like a live horn section,
Clods.
which I always liked doing. And Kindergarten Kid, which was just a fun recording to make, is we had like it was a very psychedelic song. So I went very Flaming Lips with it and just like added all kinds of crazy sound effects. There's a screaming tea kettle in the you know, bridge section of the song, you know, just like that. And then for Legendary Defenders with Voltron, it was Hey Shiro is probably the favorite song on that one, I think. And then the last original album we really put out that's pop culture centric was Meddling Kids. And I do like the main title track from that one a lot.
Mhm.
And I like that
With all
album.
the Scooby-Doo villains.
That's probably my favorite album just because it's a variety of different stuff.
That is my favorite album too.
Yeah, and it's
I,
just
I enjoyed that one a lot.
thanks. There's just a lot of variety to it. And like I'm constantly like we'll play.
Sorry, that was
There goes the dog.
just wandered.
Yeah, so we'll play, you know, like half a dozen songs off of it for a while and then kind of decide to retire some or switch something out, and we end up picking like 3 other songs off that album. We're like, oh, I forgot about this song. I really like playing this, you know. So
Yeah, I have the binder of Banished.
so Perfect Date about Skeletor is a fun one.
Yes, I'm still sad
Mhm.
we never did the music video we talked about for that.
We always have, there's always too many
we always have
ideas.
crazy ideas.
And we
for
never get to all
videos
of them,
and
you know what I mean? So A friend of ours was really adamant about doing a video for Robot Arm, which is also probably one of my favorites.
Robot Arm.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Great song.
Yeah, and it's really not based on any property. It's just about, you know, what you would do if you had a robot arm and would use it for good or evil, you know. But it was a fun one to write and to record. And but the video never happened because
We never got around.
we never got to it.
Only so many hours in the day.
Right.
Do you have to get like, this wasn't like one of the questions, but I just kind of thought of it.
Yeah.
Do you have to get like licenses to write and record about, you know, some of these songs? Like
Not
with
about
properties?
things.
Yeah, if you write it about it, there's kind of a gray area there where you could call it fan or parody. So, you know, I think if we were selling millions of copies of stuff, maybe somebody would want to come after us for it, but it's really not worth it. You know what I mean? And it's original music. So I guess, you know, maybe we're singing about Skeletor or Mum-Ra or someone. I guess they could come after us if they wanted to.
Once in a
but-
while, you'll hear tell of a lyric in a famous pop song where they will reference something.
Right. Mhm.
But it's a hard thing to sue for. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, it constantly you'll hear litigation about rappers or pop singers putting in lyrics that
Right.
relate to pop culture things, and I think they've decided that that's common use, and you
Right.
can't really do something about it.
Well, we've also, you know, we've
But-
dealt with the people that own, say, Voltron or My Little Pony, and they've just told us that they think we're good brand representatives, so they don't mind.
Oh.
Yeah, we've also seen
Yeah.
in those cases we've been like just absorbed into, you know, doing something for them. So
Right.
playing
I mean,
events.
yeah, I mean,
or-
like we
or
did
something.
we did a convention where we backed up the composer from the My Little Pony stuff, you know,
He
kind of thing.
appeared and was performing, and a
Performed
couple
with
of the
us.
voice
Yeah.
actors were performing, and we became like their backing band. So
Yeah.
No.
you know.
And sometimes you can't, those things just kind of happen and it's hard to actually plan it, you know what I mean? But it
So-
just turns out really well for us. Yeah.
I mean,
so-
if anybody pushed us back, we would. The thing is, like, we're doing it because we love it and because it's fun and
Right.
it's our hobby and it's our passion
Right.
project, and we have so much music that if somebody was just sort of like, we hate you.
if Warner
Not
Brothers
that.
said you can't do music about Scooby-Doo anymore, it would just be, okay, well, we'll play music about all these other cartoons.
Yeah, like
instead.
that's fine. We'll just not play that one.
Now, as far as playing cartoon themes,
Yes, now we're delicate about the
we do
themes.
license those to
If
to
they're-
release them, like to stream or to have someone buy a download. We do license those.
Okay.
So yeah, because that's not our original music. I do sometimes toe the line, like I'll do like a song that sounds extremely like some particular cartoon theme and just change it enough so that it's like legally distinct, you know?
But and then there's all kinds of complicated things about when you play at particular venues. They will
Right.
have certain licensure with certain companies
Right.
that say that you can play music that belongs to these companies, but you can't play music
Right.
that belongs to those. It's just
So
the politics of playing live certain places. So like we'll go through and we'll be like, okay, good news. This song belongs to them. This song is good. That song
So,
is not.
sorry guys, we can play Teen Titans this time, but we can't play Sailor Moon.
Yeah, so you know that's when you play live at a club that has one of those agreements with one of the publishing companies. You have to
Right.
adhere to that and not play what you're not supposed to play.
Whereas like at rock clubs, like nightclubs that we would play at locally or whatever, it's like the Wild West, like anything goes pretty much.
Okay. Okay.
We're beneath the contempt, I suppose.
Right, we're flying under the radar at that point, so it doesn't really matter so much.
But we follow the rules whenever
As much
you
as
know, like,
possible,
we
yeah.
do try to follow the rules, and I think, and we're not being malicious, and you know we're
No.
not making money.
Right,
So,
exactly. I mean,
who
anything that
cares?
we make goes back into
Yeah,
what we're
we
doing.
just
You know
go
what I
back
mean?
into
Like
it.
or it goes into like the cosplay for the next thing we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of
Um,
thing. So
Yeah, I wouldn't try doing any Disney songs though.
Yeah.
right, yeah. You know, we do have a. Maybe I shouldn't say it. we did do a version of the Gravity Falls theme, and we did a version of the Star versus the Forces of Evil theme,
Mhm.
Okay.
and we actually did an original song about Star also, which nobody's ever said anything about. So I think we're okay.
But yeah, but yeah, you're
But-
right. I wouldn't touch.
We're not going to dress up as
Yeah,
the
I'm
Little
not.
Mermaid
I'm not gonna.
anytime soon.
Though I hear there's a band called
Yeah.
the Little Mermen.
Right.
That they do dress up as like some of the principal Disney characters and princes and princesses, and they play rock versions of the songs from the movies, and I think they're sanctioned now.
Yeah.
They weren't and then became sanctioned.
Right.
So I think that
Disney owns them now.
not exactly,
know.
but I think that if you feel strongly compelled to make art about a property and you're keeping in the spirit of the property and not doing something, I don't know how to
Harmful.
say it nicely, not doing something harmful,
Salacious or harmful.
salacious,
Right.
You're not causing harm to the brand.
you're not
I guess.
causing harm. Yeah, if it's a children's property, it's still appropriate for children, etc., etc.
Right.
I think if you're making art in that sort of way, for the most part, I think the brands are happy to accommodate as long as you're not competing with them in a market.
Right.
Agreed.
Okay.
Long answer. You can shorten these. We're sorry.
No, it's fine. This is all
Thank you.
good information. This is interesting. Any upcoming albums or projects you'd like to talk about?
Oh,
Yeah.
can I tell about
Yeah, so the most recent thing we've done is a dramatized podcast series that's a musical called Ignore City.
so like we love cartoons and comics and all of these things, and we always do things, speaking of doing things that are derivative of other properties, we wanted to do our own, and Ed wrote this post-apocalyptic rock musical for us, in which Patrick is a disembodied robot head that I, a scruffy bike messenger from domed city in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, find in a dump, singing to himself, and we go on an adventure.
It's like Terminator and Futurama sort of put together,
Okay.
but with some real weird kind of humor to it.
Yep.
And music.
And music. So it's honestly one of my favorite things that we've done. It's really exciting for me.
This is another time where like Ed had only ever written one song for the band, and it was back in like 2006, and we practiced it and we never ended up performing it anywhere. And he'd never written anything else until suddenly he's got this project where he's written like 10 songs. You
And
know?
it's this script and this whole thing, and he did animate the songs
Some of
too.
them, yeah.
He did concept, kind of just more proof of concept art, like rough sketches for almost everything,
Right.
and then also real fully fleshed out flash animation for the songs.
Right.
And so if you check him out, check us out the YouTube, you can see his animations for the songs and things.
Right.
So the idea is like, obviously we don't have the ability to make a full-fledged cartoon, but insofar as we can with flash animation and
But if somebody wants
music,
to,
but
please
if
get in
any-
touch.
yeah, get in touch. But that's our cartoon that we made, so to speak, in our hearts.
Right.
And
so Ed brought the idea to me, and then once I had a good handle on it, I wrote music for it too. So we kind of collaborated on I wrote the main musical theme, and then he wrote some of the early episode songs, and then we kind of switched off. So
we all took turns voice
collaborated.
acting.
Yeah,
And we all
voice
did
acting, yeah.
different characters. We've been nominated for and won some awards.
Yeah, we
Oh,
just
wow.
won a best original song award at the New Jersey Web Fest from the first episode of this podcast series.
And
so.
we were nominated in like 5 categories for that. So
Congratulations.
really cool.
Thanks.
We were also invited to do a reading at WorldCon, science fiction literary convention.
Mhm.
That was really exciting, as a sci-fi geek, to get to go and read. So we did a live reading of
Live reading, and then a concert performance.
and then a concert performance at WorldCon, and that was super exciting.
Nice.
And so that thing is doing well.
So yeah, these things, like, you never know. You just put something out there and see what happens. A lot of the time you can't force people to listen to it or to like it. You know what I mean? You just put it out there and see what happens.
Oh, one of the awards we got nominated for was best chemistry.
Right.
Like our
Between us,
characters,
our
two main characters. Somebody said that we cheated because we're, like actually in love. So, and it's sort of will they or won't they, but
As much as it can be between a robot head and
just,
a.
yeah. As much, there's an
Well,
energy
clearly
there.
people are not ignoring it.
People are apparently not ignoring it, despite the fact that we told them to. Reverse psychology for the win. So
actually, when he came to me with the idea, I was like, oh, you shouldn't call it Ignore City because people are not going to pay any attention to it if you do. And I said, also, it sounds too much like that REM song, Ignore Land. And he was like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
That's the point.
So, yeah, so
exactly.
That's our newest thing. And eventually there'll be another season, I guess you would call it, of that. But yeah, it's a rock musical podcast. I think people don't always, I like drama. I mean, I like dramatized podcasts.
Right.
You know, people think of podcasts as just people talking,
like,
chatting,
or instructional,
or being nonfiction. But I like fiction podcasts that are basically dramatized audiobooks, and it's more on that side with sound effects.
And so
music.
we released this year an album of just the original songs off of this thing as its soundtrack collection. So
oh, nice.
That was the most recent thing we put out, and then we're working on our next sort of pop culture influenced album,
like another album, like
Meddling
Kids.
Sort of.
That's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much about it. It's a lot of it is already recorded, and some of it's being finished up. So, but hopefully, hoping to have that out next summer at the latest. So.
Cool. And then you guys are part of another like band you guys put together, Resounding Maybes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
that was our quarantine project.
Yeah, so that's half of the shakeups. It's me and Savannah and Ed actually are the Resounding Maybes. And that was just because, you know, when we were in quarantine, we wanted to do something and we couldn't get all 6 of us together. So we got 3 of us together and just did this recording project.
Because Ed and his wife and their children and us hang out. So
we were kind of in their bubble.
We were the bubble people. So we started a new band that was just as different from the shakeups as we could. So instead of being bright and colorful and poppy and all of this, it's kind of like late 80s goth.
Okay.
More monochromatic. Yeah. Basically, we said whatever the shakeups would normally do, we're going to do the opposite. You know? But and then, you know, it's still, the songs are still poppy and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But
right. Oh, and that band is doing something that excites me greatly. We're playing a Cure tribute.
Right.
In,
oh wow.
In January, as a keyboardist, I really like. I mean, I like the Cure anyway, just because I like the Cure because I was a little goth girl in school.
I'm gonna really have to tease up my hair for that.
I know, right? But I like the keyboard parts on Cure songs. So I'm excited.
They're pretty iconic.
I have this keyboard kit can make all these noises I don't get to use. Now I get to use them.
Do you have a favorite Cure song that you're going to be playing?
Oh gosh.
Pictures of You.
Pictures of You is good.
It's one of my very favorites.
Love Song is good.
Love Song is great. Pictures of You, because I actually got a chime for Christmas that is like the chime that starts the song. So like I have this instrument that exists just to make that noise at the beginning of the song.
There's this kind of random early Cure song that was a hit, I think, back in the day called Let's Go to Bed, which is, it's really ridiculous sounding if you go back and listen to it now, but we're doing that one. And I'm really excited to do that one because I've always liked that song for some reason, and I love trying to sing it like Robert Smith. So
yeah. And we play Just Like Heaven already is part of our set. I think that's how we wound up getting asked to do it. So
also they asked us to they wanted us to put together a tribute for something, and we're like, well, what could we do that would be sort of along the lines of our music? And
I wish I was wearing my Robert Smith shirt right now. But yeah, I was like, yes.
I'm wearing a Voltcon shirt, but I think that's just by coincidence.
Yeah, that's sort of we were talking about what the different bands would do good tributes for, and we always say the Shakeups, and somebody needs to ask the Shakeups to do a
the Wiggles.
Oh yeah, the Wiggles. Well, I was gonna say the B-52s.
Oh, the B-52s. That's fine.
Oh yeah.
Because you know we have so many wigs.
Love Shack is my go-to group karaoke song.
Anyway, so.
I could see you doing that, the B-52s.
If you can get a group of people that want to do it, I will totally do that guy's part.
Yeah. So.
And then Patrick, you're in like a Star Trek themed band, right?
Yeah, 5-year mission. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And many other bands at any point in time.
Oh, how many years have you done that?
We started in 2009. So yeah, let's see what else. I'm also in a Destination Earth is back together, actually. I mentioned them earlier, but so we recently celebrated like our 25th anniversary,
Wow.
which also does sort of spacey sci-fi music. And then I'm in another surfy instrumental band called the Madeira that's back together. So
Oh,
I keep
you
busy.
are in a lot of bands.
So sometimes I've never shown up to the wrong practice, which I'm proud to say.
I'm
Where
just in
can
the
pe-
two bands. I'm a slacker.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't leave for, or no, sorry, Lee.
Raise the American. You have only 3 jobs.
I know Louis on it and Lee actually started another band too. I guess,
Right.
you know, there's just sort of like you guys started a band. So that
Oh, you have the resounding maybe, so we're gonna do something.
they have
too.
their own band too now with a bunch of their friends. So I keep calling it the Barn Band, but it has a real name.
I don't think they have a name.
They have a name.
Do they?
They figured out a name.
Oh, I don't remember what it was. I'm
But
sorry.
at one point it was called Lilu Dallas Multipass, and I feel like that was the like absolute like missed opportunity for such a great, because it's Lee and Lou, and we call them Lilu sometimes as a unit, and they were, you know, from Fifth Element,
right.
you know, multipass. I thought that was great, but sorry, I'm a bad friend. I should
Well, they
promote their
kept.
bands,
The problem
but
is they kept changing the name, and we haven't actually seen them play yet. So once we see them play, we'll be able to be like,
And
okay,
then
this is the band, this is their
then
name,
we'll promote
and then
them
we will know
properly.
it. So, but yeah, for now, we're actually working on a second Resounding Maybes album for next year as well. So they're kind of
Excellent.
both albums, that and the Shakeups album, are kind of both about the same % done. So I guess whichever one we finish first, it'll be coming out first.
Where can people find you?
Where can they find us? Theshakeups.net.
Yeah.
Spotify, YouTube, lots of Facebook stuff. We're almost just coming up on 120,000 Facebook fans,
Oh, wow.
which is, but I think a lot of them don't realize we're a band. So
I think that really Patrick is a meme lord.
There's that too.
So I think some of them don't, you know, we'll put a band post up and then be like, the Shakeups is a band? I'll be like, yeah.
Where have you been for the last 15 years?
Why is this on my page? I came here for cartoon memes. I was like, sorry to impose, but this is actually why this page is here. Please enjoy this piece of music. So those are the places. And then if you go to our website at shakeups.net, we'll have upcoming shows and stuff. And then and then also the podcast is on a bunch of platforms. Any place you listen to podcasts, you can find the podcast. It's Ignore City.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, so like, you know, on Audible, or no, not on Audible. But Spotify and
If you
Apple and-
like anime or giant robots of any kind, please check out voltconevents.org.
So
We'll be back next October.
for giant robot funness. And yeah, so yay.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Is that
with
enough
this.
material for you?
We're so sorry. It's just so much. So much.
I can't wait to write this up and share it.
Can you condense that into a few paragraphs?
I'll do my best.
Okay. If you need, like I said, if you need any name spellings or links to anything, let me know and I'll get them to you.
Okay. Yeah, actually, well, are all the band members listed on your website?
They are, but if you
Okay.
can't find it or have a question, just let me know. I can send it to you.
Okie dokie. I'll share with you a copy of the interview before I
Okay.
submit it, so you guys have
Okay.
a chance to look over it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
And then if
Alright.
you don't mind, I would love to share this interview, like the video, at
Uh-huh.
some point, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess so. If you like, I think.
As long as we don't look tired or bored or something, or if Beowulf gives you any trouble.
But yeah, that was it. I was looking for a Fred Rogers quote that I really liked about, but I can't find it, about keeping alive some healthy interests from your childhood
Right.
as you move into your adult life. And
I mentioned my getting in trouble in first grade humming cartoons.
yeah,
right?
so that's what it's all about. And I hope that if anybody's on the fence about starting some sort of project like this with their friends or themselves quietly, do it.
Cartoon
Might as
music is
well.
just absolutely infectious, and there's so much great stuff. And
Make your art, make your music, do your thing. Somebody will like it, and if they don't, they're wrong. So
I grew up on all the same kind of cartoons that you guys did, and
oh yeah,
I still love Transformers. I still love Voltron. I still love Robotech. And
we featured Flint Dilley from Transformers the movie last year at VoltCon, and
oh really?
Wow. He was just going to do an introduction to the movie, but he was like, he got up there and he's like, you know what, you people have seen this movie before, I'm just going to keep talking. And so he talked through the whole movie, and he asked me to come up on stage with him, so I just got to sit there and like fulfill a childhood dream and just have this guy telling me all this behind the scenes stuff about the movie while we watched it with a live audience. It was fantastic. It was so much fun.
That must have been really interesting.
It was. He was a hilarious guy too. Like he would be talking about some particular plot device or something, and he would just make up a bunch of Transformer names. He'd be like, well, Tailpipe did this, and just real funny stuff.
That is still like one of my absolute favorite movies.
It's so good.
I know, isn't it good? And the music is part of my
right?
my favorite
Exactly.
thing about it.
Yeah.
So the next time the
Cybertronic
Spree come anywhere near here, we're all gonna go, right?
That's the thing I really hated about that, is like, why didn't I do that? As soon as I heard them, I was like, I love that music. I should have recorded those songs.
Well, I don't.
Or you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think you can handle the discomfort of the costume, though.
No, of course.
You're pretty.
I mean, I wear robot battle armor in Destination Earth.
Yeah, but you take your helmet off like the second song.
Well, they have like their faces open with like a helmet on the side, so they can actually get on the microphone.
Cool. Fair enough.
Mine is like Boba Fett, where there's like a shield over your face, so it's kind of hard to sing that way.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm sorry, we're keeping you, aren't we?
Sorry about that.
Oh no, I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
But that's the news.
Yeah.
That's the news of the world.
If you think of anything else you want to know or need clarification, just let us know.
Likewise, and if you have any questions for me, let me know.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too. Catch you later.
Take care.
Bye. See you on the internet.
Bye, Babe Wolf.
Bye. All right.
I have to go